Hi all, Rick here. Trelane was first encountered in Star Trek in 2267, masquerading as the Squire of Gothos, a retired general who seemed to have a fascination with 18th century Earth. However, his observations of Earth failed to take into account the speed of light, so by the time he met with the crew of the USS Enterprise, his expectations of humanity did not match with what he found. During the encounter, he demonstrated the ability to alter reality in a major way, as well as form the entire planet of Gothos out of nothing to be his playground. He was also not omnipresent nor omniscient. He was able to be tricked and manipulated, suggesting that he only had perception of what he had and was experiencing, much like a normal individual. So, when met initially, he demonstrated the ability to form an entire planet out of nothing, including terraform it at will. He could create structures, biomes, and life on it as he pleased. He's also able to stop time around a person, freezing them, and teleport at will, and many other such space-time alterations, including teleporting Gothos itself. During this encounter, it was noted that while immense, Trelane's abilities were not infinite. He was unable to manifest real tasting foods, nor generate heat from fire. Nor was he able to manipulate his powers without the use of a concealed machine. However, it should be noted that his parents were able to do this, so it could be that only Trelane required such a device and that with age he would no longer use it. The life he created, like plant life however, was also a facsimile. It was later revealed that he was in fact still considered a child of his species, and that his parents had allowed him to play with the Enterprise unaware of how fragile it was and how dangerous his actions were proving to the mortals. With an apology, they took back custody of their son and sent the Enterprise on its way. So, the Q connection. It's no secret that Q was inspired by Trelane when it came to the next generation. But there has long been a fan theory that Trelane was in fact a juvenile Q. However, this is never confirmed on screen. But, spoilers ahead for Season 3 of Strange New Worlds. In 2261, Trelane was encountered by the crew of the USS Enterprise under multiple guises, as a wedding planner and bartender separately. During the course of this encounter, he was never witnessed in the familiar form of the Squire of Gothos, except by the audience, nor directly named. Additionally, we cannot say for certainty that these events occurred in chronological order for Trelane, as the capability for time travel could mean that he went back after meeting Kirk and crew a few years later to continue to play with the Enterprise crew. This is bolstered by the fact that when his father came to collect him, he reminded Trelane of prior punishments for disobedience. During this appearance, he claimed to be 8,020 years old and was still a juvenile of his species. However, we see him engage in more Q-like actions. Firstly, it's notable that the machine that supported his abilities is absent here, either suggesting he no longer needs it, or that this level of reality alteration did not require it. Further evidence for the 2261 encounter being after his 2267 meeting can be found in the numerous foods that he can now create, delighting in the formation and concoction of new drinks and snacks, something he was unable to do when Kirk met him. He has experienced more foods and flavours and is now able to create them. He also snapped his fingers in the same manner as a Q to instigate changes, but as with the Q, these gestures appear to be a matter of preference and frankly, flair, and not a necessity. In a behind-the-scenes note, the voice of his father was that of John Delancey, who played Q. While neither of these facts directly dictates that Trelane is a juvenile Q, it does draw deliberate parallels to the apocryphal and fan theory connections. In the story Q Squared, we're told many things that line up with Trelane's abilities, that the machinery on Gothos was there to focus and grow his powers until he could manage it by himself, basically training wheels. It's also hinted that the Q we all know is in fact the illegitimate father of Trelane, which would then be why he voiced his father in Strange New Worlds. Or it could all be an allusion and referential. It's got just enough ambiguity there to allow for that, which I like. We do get a mention, however, that Vanir 9 was the last dig site for Dr. Roger Corby, and that it looks like Trelane tailed him from there, calling Vanir 9 the old homeworld, which would go on to suggest that this might indeed be the point of evolution for Trelane's people, and if he was an early Q, then, well, perhaps we have a place of true origin, or at least as true as it can be for an eternal species that can choose to pre-exist creation if they wanted. So, the personal theory is that Trelane is indeed a Q, but not quite a proper one, for lack of a better term. A large part of the Q Continuum's civil war was caused by the realisation that should they be allowed to end their existence, they would die out as new children were not created. Despite this, we have seen Child Q from before, with Amanda Rogers, who was born human by parents that were originally Q. She began to manifest Q-like powers and learned to manipulate them before being taken back to the Continuum to learn how to become a full Q. When Q did become a father with Q, his son, Q2, also had immense power from the start and needed no machinery to help direct his powers. So it could be that Trelane was perhaps the product of the Q Continuum's earliest attempts at procreation, eventually manifesting in Trelane, but not a full Q like Q2. As a result, like Amanda Rogers, Trelane had to learn and grow into his powers over a much longer period, unlike Q2, who was a new generation of offspring that was fully Q from the outset. Or it could be even simpler than that the Q exist outside of time anyway, so Trelane could simply be a Q child from a point after their civil war, or even before the Q had fully evolved into their godlike forms. After all, the whole point of the Continuum and Q existence is that we cannot really understand, nor even perceive it correctly anyway. Part of this is that there is no rule to say that they have to abide by linear time. Personally, I enjoy this ambiguity, and even the addition of some references and new lore to him has not served to really lessen this nor answer all the questions around Trelane. Sure, it's now far more likely that Trelane is a Q, or at least related in some strong fashion, but the exact nature is still obscure. What do you think? I think a connection is all but confirmed, but do you think Trelane is a Q before they were truly godlike, or does he originate after their civil war? Let me know below and let's hear some theories. Thanks for watching, I've been Rick, and until the next one, goodbye.